Hi, this is Richard Fields with this week's Report from the Fields. The folly of voting for the lesser of two evils is playing out in orange technicolor right before our eyes. MAGA voters voted for the orange man because he wasn't Kamala Harris. Fair enough, she arguably could have, in different ways, been even worse. But Trump had the gall to call April 2nd, the day most of his mindless tariffs went into place, Liberation Day. His own quack economic advisor, Peter Navarro, claims the tariffs will raise $600 billion a year in new government revenue. New government revenue is a polite way of saying new taxes. And $600 billion is a tad more than Trump's first-term tax cuts of $550 billion a year. April Fool's Day would have been a more appropriate launch date. MAGA apologists argue that most of the tariffs will be paid by companies that import into the United States. Maybe, but probably not. Companies that don't pass on their increased costs, including taxes, don't stay in business for long. And any consumer relief coming from tighter importer margins will almost certainly be smaller than the higher prices charged by domestic producers, because they can charge more if they face less competition. And that doesn't even begin to take into account the costs that will be passed on to consumers by retaliatory tariffs imposed by our trading partners. The stock market is a fairly good indicator of the sentiments of the owners of businesses. Back in February, most investors thought Trump tariff talk was on a par with his talk about taking back the Panama Canal or annexing Greenland, staking out an extreme initial position in order to negotiate the best deal. In other words, mostly bluster. Now the smart money is figuring out that Trump might really believe his own BS. The NASDAQ is down over 13%, and the pain may be just starting. Buy the dip at your own risk. Remember, kids, tariffs are taxes. Taxes are always and everywhere, always paid by people, not by corporations. Corporations just pass them along. Higher taxes plus irresponsibly borrowing magic money from the Fed inexorably leads to more government spending as a percentage of the total spending going on in the economy. Government spending goes to the military, health, education, environmental, welfare, industrial complex, which gives a cutback to the politicians who grease their gravy train. If Elon Musk's Doge has shown us anything, it's shown us that the government does not spend money productively. For years, Grover Norquist of Americans for Tax Reform has been advocating lower taxes to starve the beast. Lower tariffs are a part of lower taxes. The other part is lower levels of magic money creation by the Fed, because inflation that results from government spending magic money is just another tax. Trump and his economic advisors are ignoring that. Maybe he'll get it right in his third term. That's this week's Report from the Fields. I'm Richard Fields. See you again next week.